good to see you again, man. Welcome back to Popternative.
Hey, good to be back, man. Good to be back.
Absolutely. It's so crazy because, how it is. You book these projects, you work on them, you wait. I remember when this was announced, like even before you were cast as Taka. Like I remember when this announced. And we're talking. It's starting to sink in me this month that it's coming out, or is it still not wrapped? Like your brain's not wrapped around it so far?
I still can't believe what's actually happening. I feel like I won't process it until like the movie actually comes out and audiences are there and I'm in my hometown, I'm with my family to go watch it. Then I'll be like, whoa, this is real. Right now, I just feel like, like, am I actually in The Lion King? Or is this like that dream I had when I was a kid and I'm just still dreaming or something like that? And I know that sounds corny, but that's real. That feeling is
No,
real.
absolutely. That's what's happening for sure. Origin stories and prequels interest me because it's like, we know what's going on, but at the same time, we don't know what's going on. Familiar territory, unfamiliar territory, right? Do you think about a lot of that when you're cast for this? Because I find that's a unique casting situation.
100%. I think when I was cast, well, I wanted to play Scar so bad. Like Aaron and I were just talking about this. We both had to audition for Mufasa and Scar, and I didn't really have a take on the Mufasa of it all, but I was such a fan of what Jeremy Irons did in the original and what Chiwetel did in the 2019 version. I was like, man, it would be such an honor to be able to be part of this legacy. So I was ready to dive in and figure out how am I gonna like earn this villainous like legend that we all are like intimidated and entertained by. How do I bring that same level of lovability to the young Taka?
Absolutely. It's interesting too because, origin stories with villains specifically, there's always that misunderstood because we want to know what kind of happened, right? So it's like, what was that script to screen journey like for you reading all this with Taka, who eventually becomes Scar? There's like is he a villain? Is it misunderstood? What's that script to screen journey like for you with Mufasa the Lion King?
It feels like the most pivotal moment for a lot of us in the creative space. Like even Lynn talks about this. He wrote "I always wanted a brother" based off of what was in the script. That line when it says "I have a secret, I always wanted a brother." That was the turning point for me as well. It's like, oh, that's my end. This is a kid who has a lot of light and joy and optimism about life, and he's looking forward to everything that is going to be afforded to him. And Barry gave me a great note. He said, just stay present with Taka and allow life to take a toll on him. And in each moment, you'll adjust. And maybe your choices won't necessarily align with Mufasa's choices at a certain point, but allow yourself to go on that journey. And so that was like, I didn't judge him at all. I just I walked into that purity and that sincerity of him being like, I just want community and friendship. I don't know how to get it, but I'm gonna get it by any means necessary.
100%. It's interesting when you look at a lot of the themes of a lot of these films. The original Lion King film, there is that theme of family, kingdom and everything. This one is like, siblings and brothers and everything. And I'm wondering if you feel like it's a little bit of like a ping pong match with all those elements, with the kind of Lion King family, kingdom, king kind of component, but then also bringing it back a little bit with the, Taka Mufasa with the brotherhood and like that stuff. Do you think about that at all? Because I do find that interesting.
I think it's just I do agree that it's a lot going on all the time, and you're just trying to figure out, okay, how am I serving the story? But that's when I start to kind of go, wait a second, Kel, don't get overwhelmed. You literally have one of the best directors of all time directing this movie, and you should just trust him. And he created such a space where we could feel so safe to play and try things. And if I was missing something, Barry would bring it to my attention and redirect me. If I had ideas and I was like, maybe we should go in this direction, I would like to try this. I didn't even have to say it. I would come into the space knowing that he would receive it. And if he didn't like it, we would adjust accordingly. But I mean, I have Aaron opposite me. I have a lot of great scene partners as well. So it was easy to have that chemistry and camaraderie with all my scene partners to bring it all to life and hit all the notes.
I feel like we talked about this a little bit last time we spoke, which was I can't keep track of time anymore. I think Chevalier, I think that was like a year, 2 years. I don't know when it was, but yeah. What I don't know what time is anymore. But like it's interesting, right? Because it's like, these are, movies like Mufasa the Lion King where, we're locked in. We want to know how one of our favorite kind of tales, how it all began, so to speak. So we're locked in and we're dialed in and we're active audience members watching this around the holidays. Are you ever thinking about that or thinking about the audience or conscious of the audience while you're making Mufasa the Lion King? Or does that happen a little bit after you wrap?
think with a movie like this where there's such a huge fan base, and I'm coming in not just as an actor but as a fan of The Lion King, so I am prioritizing to some extent how I would respond if I was a part of it. Because listen, we all do it with big franchises. We sit there and kind of go, well, if I was in it, especially actors, well, if they cast me, this is what I would want to see. See, I would have preferred this from this character. So I think in my way of trying to appease my own audience sensations, I really was trying to bring as much of the flavor and the style that Jeremy Irons had, and like the playfulness and the seediness of him, and the elongated luxuriation that he would do with all his dialogue and the sarcasm. I was like, how do I find ways to drop that into Taka without spoiling the arc or not giving us something to work into, and keep it fun and keep it alive and keep it playful, so that audiences kind of go, I recognize that kid and I'm excited and I want to see more, you know?
Absolutely. This is kind of a general question, but you can kind of tie this into your experience with Mufasa the Lion King. But I think one of the greatest things about storytelling and content these days, Kelvin, is the global kind of consumption of it. We're able to, watch things that are made from all around the world, and people from all around the world will be able to watch Mufasa the Lion King. And I'm wondering if you start thinking about that a lot as a storyteller who's, acted, also done music stuff as well, where it's like really changing the game, where there's content from all around the world and people have access. Do you start thinking about that? Because I feel like that's one of my most favorite things about storytelling these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think what's cool about this movie too is we shot the film over 3 years, but we started it. I was in Prague. The entire crew that was working with me were Czech, you know, and they were excited that we were making The Lion King, and they got to be a part of that moment and get to hear the development and how it was made. And that was cool, hearing stories from them on how The Lion King impacted them. Barry was in Hong Kong on the first session. Aaron was in Toronto. The next time I did it, I was in Croatia. So it was really beautiful seeing the impact and the love and the universality in the film. And I guess that's what I carry with me in the process, was trying to create something that was larger than all of us, and not necessarily trying to take the notes or process each and every person's story, but this universal love, this bigness for community. And making sure that it felt epic in an experience. And that means, and when it comes to performance, it's in style. It's making it bigger, broader, louder, more playful, giving it a more commercial take. And at the moments where you need to be a little bit more subtle and drop in, you sprinkle that in there as well.
I mean, the scale of this is massive. I feel like the first day you were like, what was that first day like, that you were like, it was confirmed you're going to be Taka? Like, what is that? Like, does the scale like sink in that day, even before anything else? Like, I'm wondering.
It doesn't sink in well, I guess in some ways, like, I remember I put on Be Prepared immediately, and I started dancing around my place. And I was just like celebrating. I called my mom and my dad. I was just super hyped. And I just started looking up interviews, and I wanted to see, and I rewatched the movie again, because I was like, oh man, like, I can't believe I get to be a kid again in this space. Like, my younger self is like really satisfied. And so that part was cool. But once we got to the actual recording, I was like, wait a minute now, because we did it during COVID, so none of us were in the same room at the same time. We were on Zoom, and they didn't have any animation yet, so it was just like chicken scratch drawings of these lions. And Barry's like, well, you're diving off of a waterfall, and you're in this big body of water, and there's snow, and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, that's what you got from those pictures? So it was interesting being behind the scenes and going through the process, but I love learning about it, and being able to be a part of the development and the growth of all of us trying to create this epic.
And so much happened before you went to camera on this thing. So from an acting storyteller perspective, you can see there's two journeys, right? Before filming Mufasa and after filming Mufasa. Or for you, does it feel like one big journey with multiple steps in between? I'm curious about that.
I feel like it's one big journey with multiple steps in between. I think it's because we did it in chunks. So it's like you do a bunch of sessions, and then you disappear and you do another movie, and you grow up, you have a birthday, you break up, you get back into a different relationship, you talk to your parents, you know what I mean? Like, holidays pass, all these things happen, your life happens, and then you go back to Lion King, and you're doing some of the same scenes again with a new perspective. And I just finished my last session for this movie, was probably what, 3 months ago. So to think that I was still not sure where it was going and still trying to discover new things about Taka. I never went into a session. I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly who he is.
Yeah.
It was always a discovery. And then to watch it a few nights ago and go, whoa, it's done.
So it's like one journey with like breaks in between sometimes even, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's interesting too because I'm getting into like filmmaking as well too, like from a writing producing perspective. And it's interesting to think about the on to the next kind of component of it. Like it's done until it's not done, right? Where it's like, you wrap this project and then you play the waiting game and then it's interesting to think about, right? The life of especially with an actor specifically.
Yeah, and I've also been really fascinated by Barry's journey with it all, to genuinely start from the bottom floor and to come into this big franchise with new technology and try to make a whole new story. Lion King 94 in 2019 at least is the same story, but to sit here and have to find a new footing is incredible. And I visited the actual set, not our like recording sessions, because it was a different building where the technology was, and they made like these VR goggles and this whole world, and you hear voices and all the imagery and all the designs and the colors he wants to use. I'm like, Barry, this place was this massive building. I was like, how are you processing all of this? So that was really cool to get the behind the scenes on that as well. But man, he really did his thing.
Absolutely. And I can't wait for people to see Mufasa the Lion King. Kelvin, as always, it was an honor and privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it, man.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.